All right, welcome in Ravens flock. This is Jordan with Ravens Flash Report, and we are coming off of the Ravens 31 to 13 victory over the Dallas Cowboys in the second preseason game of the 2025 preseason. So, this game I feel like was a little bit less a little bit less dynamic than the first. There was less big plays, there was less I don't know, not necessarily to say there was less to get us excited about. Because we did get some questions answered, some but it just doesn't seem like it was as I don't know. You guys tell me what you guys think about it, but I didn't feel like it was an overwhelmingly astonishing victory for the Ravens. Obviously the score indicates that it was 31-13, but I just didn't really feel like there was as many explosive plays, there wasn't as much dynamic playmaking going on. Obviously in the passing game, Cooper Rush, he threw for more than, what was it, 49 yards, I think, or 48 yards from last week, whatever the total ended up being. But he goes 20 for 30. It's still underwhelming. He does throw the one touchdown. Him and Devontae Walker. Walker seems like he's, coming along pretty well, which is excellent to see. But, 198 yards and two picks. Now, the one that went off of the hands of Rasheen Ali, can't really do anything about that. Hit him right in the hands, and that's just an unfortunate play. And that was three of Lamar's four interceptions last season. So to call that Cooper's fault might be a little bit of a stretch. The first one, I don't know. It looked like the defender definitely baited him into it. And I was watching the Cowboys broadcast for it. And their announcers were, they were gushing over this defense, being like, "Oh my, he baited him. He baited him into it by drawing him off the whole time." I'm like, okay, well, Devontae Walker they were given plenty of cushion for pretty much the entire time before that. But Devin Leary comes in and underwhelming is not even the word. This when he comes out and I'm not going to sit here and say that I watched 100 hours of tape on Devin Leary before we drafted him, but I mean we were told that his arm was explosive. His arm was, he's got this rocket attached to his shoulder and whatnot, or at least a strong throw. I did not see that. I saw on multiple occasions underthrown passes, and a couple of them were into the end zone. So it's, for me, at this point, it's Rush's job to lose. Do I feel confident with him being our backup? Not necessarily. But if you're telling me that it's between Rush and Leary, then yeah, it's Rush all day. That's not really, I don't think that's a difficult conclusion to come to for anybody. One of the star performers for me that I think I won't say it was surprising, but I felt like Rasheen Ali's rookie season was underwhelming. That I would say was underwhelming. I feel like when he did have opportunities, I know he's coming off of an injury in college, but it just seemed like he didn't ever really get adjusted to the NFL game. And it's not going to be the same learning curve for everybody. There's positions that are specifically harder. And then there's just simply everybody's own learning curve and experience. But Rasheen Ali definitely impressed me today. I thought his cuts he was decisive. I felt like when he made the cuts, was he as explosive as Mitchell? Maybe not, but he proved to be hard to tackle. He broke through a couple of arm tackles. And once he got to his hole, he was positive yardage pretty much every time. His first play, he did get caught in the backfield for like a loss of 3 yards, but again, he was not deterred from that. Ended up 19 attempts for 62 yards. He also believe he had one catch for 10 yards. So, again, showing a little bit of the versatility. He was also on a kick return for 25 yards. So, again, just showing that he can play in multiple avenues, and the Ravens love guys like that. So, right now I have him as our fourth running back, and he's pretty much the cutoff. D'Ernest Johnson, he did have a pretty decent day behind him. 11 carries for 61 yards and a touchdown. Now, is D'Ernest Johnson going to make it over Ali? I don't think so. I think he's 29, 20, 28, 29. I could be wrong on that, but he's an older guy compared to Ali. Ali's coming out of college. He's in his second season with the Ravens. And same for Myles Gaskin. Myles Gaskin late in the game, he showed, some pop on like one or two plays, but I think these are just camp bodies. And with the situation with Mitchell, John Harbaugh, I think, said right after the game, he should be pretty much ready to go for the regular season, but I think they're just being really careful with him. An unfortunate injury in the game was to Adisa Isaac, and I just spoke in my recap video from game one. I was excited to see him back out there just because he was kind of dealing with injuries his entire rookie season, and he dislocates his elbow, according to John Harbaugh after the game. So Adisa Isaac's going to be out a few weeks, at least with a dislocated elbow. But I mean, again, he showed really good burst in this game as well for the little bit that he was in there. And last game he was, yeah, I feel like he was kind of everywhere last game. So hope he comes back healthy. Again, he's another young guy, but he's got an uphill battle, especially with an injury in that edge room, which is now, you know, there's a lot of guys in there that are fighting for reps because, I mean, David Ajabo, I don't think he really did anything to shine in this game. Obviously, he had the sack last game, but again, not to take anything away from it, but completely unblocked. If he had missed that, I think it would have been, it wouldn't have looked good. So, but Devontae Walker, he definitely looked good. He looked good. He looked clean. He looked fast. He goes 6 of 8 for 61 yards. And I felt like Wade is, I said this in the first game too, but Wade is not benefiting from the quarterback play that he's dealing with. Is he a, wide receiver 1 or 2? Probably not. But when he's getting these underthrown balls from Leary, when he's getting passes to the outside, they're going out of bounds. I don't really, I mean, again, you get with what you got. And I'm not saying that, he should take reps away from Zay or Bateman or Hopkins or, even Devontae Walker at this point. But it just seems like it's an injustice to him, a disservice to his ability to try to make this team when he's not out there, with at least the second team. I'm hoping in game 3 that he's out there more with Cooper Rush because, again, is Cooper Rush Lamar? No, but he's head and shoulders above what we're seeing out of Leary. So I think Wade's getting the short end of the stick of that. He did end up going 4 for 6 for 45 yards. So, I'd like to see a little bit more from him, getting some better passes thrown his way in the third game. So Charlie Kolar, again, with they're not going to put Mark Andrews out there, and likely he's dealing with his injury. But I mean, Charlie looks smooth. He looks good. He caught all 3 of his targets for 20 yards, moved the chain on a couple of them. But again, he's out there blocking. He's out there, just doing well. His backup, Cup, I don't have his first name here, but he goes 2 for 2 for 13 yards. So, again, do I think he might make the team? Cup? No, but maybe he's a camp body. Maybe he's, a backup situation. But, yeah. So, I mean, better receiving numbers. I would say, again, other than Wade sort of not benefiting from dealing with Leary, LeJohntay Wester was disappointing in this one as far as, from a wide receiver standpoint. Didn't get much work as a returner. Just not really, too much there. But he goes 0 for 4, and one hits him straight in the hands. It looked like a classic case of he started to run before he caught the ball, right? And, I get it. He's a rookie. And even though he looked great in the first game, he's still a rookie. And he didn't get nearly, I'm not saying we didn't draft him to be a receiver. We obviously, want that part of his game. But the focus on his draft was definitely on his returning ability. So, he's still working through some things. I think the nerves maybe got to him a little bit in this one. But he's really got to lock that down. A guy that I thought he bounced back well in the first game was Tyler Loop. He missed one kind of in the middle of the game that should have been, we say should have been, in the NFL. Not exactly a gimme, but he missed a earlier, I think it was like a 42-yarder, and then comes back and hits like a 56-yarder or something like that. But in this one, he had sort of a similar circumstance where he missed a 50-yarder. So he hit a 51-yarder. I know he had a 42-yarder. He hit a 36-yarder. But then he missed a 50-yarder. Comes back, and then in the last Ravens offensive possession of the game, he ends up hitting a 53-yarder. So he goes 5 for 6 and he goes 2 for 3 beyond 50. Again, he's a rookie. And I think Ravens fans, and I don't mean to speak for everybody necessarily, but we were used to Justin Tucker's game. And up until, last season and maybe before that, there was this sense of, again, automatic, right? And, while that wasn't always the case looking at it statistically, Tyler Loop is doing fantastic as a rookie so far. I think maybe some people might be underwhelmed by seeing things about in camp. He misses a 40 something yarder here and a 40 something yarder there, but then nails a 50 something yarder. Again, it's camp. He's a rookie working through these things. I'm impressed in game time towards the end of the game that he's hitting these 50 plus yarders because that's what happened last week too. So, if he misses a 40 yarder and the team loses by 3, okay, maybe he shares in some of that. But again, the whole game doesn't ride on one player. And I'd rather see him hitting these long shots late in the game when there's more pressure on him. Because as a rookie, seeing that aspect of his game is, I think, really important. So not too much out of the return game. Like I said, we didn't really talk about LeJontay Wester. He didn't really have much going on. And the defense overall was really solid against the run, I felt, especially early. They got a couple, longer runs later in the game. I think they're one of their, I mean, they have 6 running backs listed there at one point during the broadcast, excuse me. But then I look at our list of guys and it's like, okay, yeah, well, we're not playing Henry. We're not playing Hill. Mitchell's, dealing with his groin injury. And so Ali was getting a lot of run. And then, we ended up having basically 6 running backs as well in there. So I can't talk, but Vaughn had a couple of decent runs out to the sides later in the game. But overall, Jay Higgins, again, he popped out to me. It was later in the game. Again, I wanted to see a little bit more from him, maybe against the second teams. But I feel like our depth at linebacker is less concerning than the potential starters are for me, if that makes sense. Obviously, Simpson, he can come back, he can play great, but it just, we'll have to wait and see. So, but behind them, I thought Buchanan had a fantastic game. I was worried. He looked a little slow in the first game to me, and I said as much. This game, he looked way faster. So I don't know what it was. I don't know if maybe he was just being indecisive in the first game. But he had a couple plays where he came flying into the backfield. He looks really good on special teams. He's a really solid tackler. I mean, that's what we saw out of him in Cal, right? He had a lot of tackles. He's a sure tackler. He's a good contributor on special teams. But he surprised me with his speed in this game, I have to say. And I'm pleasantly surprised because he looked good in coverage. He looked good, providing pressure on the quarterback and in the backfield. Ruben Lowry, obviously, he had a fantastic game. He gets the interception in the end zone, pretty much saving the second interception that was thrown by Cooper Rush. And, does it negate the fact that Cooper Rush threw the pick? Whether it was off the hands of Ali or not, no. But again, to get it right back, that's a good momentum driver for these teams. Malik Ham, I thought he looked really good. Martin, he looked good. He had some up and down play. I felt he had some splash plays, and then he had some plays where just maybe the coverage wasn't there quite as well. And I kind of felt the same for TJ Tampa because he looked good on a couple of plays. He looked good tackling. He looked good, but it looked like on some of the more extended plays where there was asked to cover a little bit longer. I won't say he lost focus, but it just seemed like he wasn't able to track the ball quite as well. And I know that was a little bit of an issue of his coming out of Iowa, but he was, I don't know, he just seemed like he was less comfortable in coverage during this game. But Malik Ham, he looked good. Again, it's a tough room for him to kind of crack because Green's doing what he's doing and he looks fantastic. I don't even think we saw. I'm looking through it right now. We didn't even see Tavius Robinson out there. So it's going to be a tough room for him to get in, but he certainly is making a name for himself. And I think it was like one of the last few plays of the game or whatever, he's pushing back and forth with one of the Cowboy players and just kind of just chucks him into the pile. So you want to see that during the preseason, guys fighting for a spot. Um, but again, he looks fast. He came in for that sack, and both him and Jay Higgins, they look good. And I think Higgins probably has a better chance to make the roster than Ham does. But again, it's like what I said previously after the first preseason game. There's only a few spots that these guys are realistically fighting for. And other than that, it's practice squad, it's auditions for other teams that maybe have more spots open. But the Ravens realistically, they don't have a lot of openings on the team. Um, the only unfortunate thing is that where we do have some of those open spots, the depth isn't quite really up to the level of starter, at least from what it seems like. And I'm particularly speaking about Trenton Simpson. Again, Buchanan, he surprised me in this game pleasantly. Does that mean that he's necessarily ready to step up and play against some of the best AFC North teams? And the Chiefs and the Bills, and like I don't know about that. But if there's rotational things that seem to work out, or maybe Trenton Simpson comes out and surprises us, hopefully. But obviously, it can change quickly. The cornerback position, we do have a lot of solid depth there. I don't think we saw Awuzie at all out there today. So it was a lot of Tampa. I think I saw JAD out there. Armour Davis was out there for a little bit, at least I know during the first season or first series. Um, but it really seemed like the Ravens were pushing their depth guys, and for them to come out of it 31-13. I know I said at the beginning of this. I know I said at the beginning that this game didn't really pop. It wasn't quite as dramatic of a game as the first one with Keaton Mitchell, LeJontay Wester, and sort of the explosive plays that we saw in the first one. But there was a consistency, especially to this defense, from our depth guys, that is reassuring because when it's not your starters out there, and later in the game, it seems like at least during the third quarter that maybe the Cowboys have found, a little bit more ground to stand on, a little bit more momentum, and our defense just ended up shutting them down again. So that was really convincing to see, and I happy that we saw that from some of the depth guys and everything like that. So, unfortunate news about Isaac's injury. Vontaze Walker, again, he looks good. I'm excited to see what he can do in this third preseason game if they play him at all. This is typically being the last game. This is typically when bubble guys are really fighting for spots. Devontae Walker, he's not a bubble guy, right? He's on the 53. So I don't even know if we see him. It might be a lot of Miller. It might be a lot of who do we? It's I just talked about him. Dayton Wade. It might be more of Keith Kirkwood. So seeing those kind of guys out there fighting for spots that are either, I mean, to be honest, I don't see the Ravens taking more than maybe 6 receivers into this season. And the fact that we didn't see Tylan Wallace in this game at all, kind of tells me that he's pretty much locked up his spot as well. So unless they take 7, it doesn't really seem like Wade or Kirkwood or Miller really have a shot to make the initial 53, barring any issues or anything like that. But if we can get all 3 of them onto the practice squad, great. And again, from a defensive standpoint, we have a decent amount of depth at linebacker and some DBs and everything that showed pretty good flexibility and ability to come up. Definitely physical. I like the physicality of a lot of our depth guys, but yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens in the third preseason game, who plays, who doesn't, but really solid effort by a lot of the depth guys tonight. And, again, just a solid win. I mean, like I said, just because it wasn't flashy doesn't mean it wasn't a solid win. It was a very solid win. We saw a lot out of Rasheen Ali, and I know that's convincing for me. That he's going to be our fourth running back going into the season, especially with his flexibility. So that's going to do it for me. If you guys enjoyed this live recap, go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. Appreciate you guys for coming out, and go Ravens.